episode. I didn't watch it on the day it came out. My bad, my bad. I just couldn't wait. Who have Cain and Abel? Exactly. Scythe, you said you watched them all, right? You watched them all on like speed dial? Yes. Did you like them? Did you like them? Or was it like, it's okay? It was good. I'm glad you liked it. I love it. I just unfortunately am one of those people that absolutely loves the Amazing Digital Circus. Fortunately or unfortunately, I like the lore behind it. I like how there could be so many different endings and whatnot. I do like how there's a bunch of different things that could possibly be, you know. I also kind of like how it's a slow burn. We gotta wait months in between each episode to actually watch it. I gotta wait months in between. I like shit like that. Let's see. One thing that I'm not sure about is if we should start with all of the... I think we should start off with the most recent episode and then dive into like the lore and stuff and what could be, you know. So I feel like if we watch the other episodes first, or like the other lore videos first, there's gonna be spoilers for what this episode is, you know. Then it wouldn't make sense to watch it after. Make sure I got everything pulled up and ready to go. Okay. See. Okay. Almost clicked stop streaming. Holy. That's it, guys. That's stream. Where's the tab? Oh, there you go. That'd be hilarious. I was like, what the hell is this? Am I in the... I'm in the special events category. There you go. On this scene, a lot of people don't know what this means, and me neither. When the episode started, I was like clutching my pearls. I don't know if it's people like joining the circus, you know? And so it's getting bigger. That was Lugario? Now he wants to break out of the walls. Who is this? I don't know. And it ate him. Baby photos of Kane? But like, what happened here, you know? I wanna know! You gotta tell me! You can't just show me like this! I finished! Like the circus. They like, who the fuck are these people?
Another chess piece, huh? How are you holding up?
I just don't know what's happening. We
Yeah.
never made anything like this.
I just hope that...
Wait,
Are you?
Scythe, what's wrong with you?
it's
Ow.
you.
Oh my
No, you're
God.
not. Oh.
I wish I could remember your name.
Same.
I'm so sorry I roped you into this with me.
It's quite strange, isn't it?
Listen, no matter what happens,
Hager's my king!
always
And into the cellar you go. Golly, we're running out of humans here. Now don't you go abstracting on me too.
Damn.
Seriously.
This is fucking sad. I think like someone looked up like the numbers, and I think he spent like 10 years in the circus alone, which is fucking crazy. Okay, bro. You're stupid. Also, anything to say about this episode?
What? What? Hello? Guys? I can't figure out how to... guys? Hello? Can you help me out here? What's happening? Can anybody hear me?
I can hear you.
Got sucked in.
Are you okay?
Who are you? How do I take this off?
Wow, a new one? So it is possible. Looks like you got a new buddy after all, Kinger.
Kinger. Right.
Is this really...
I was hoping new minds could show up. I have to make some more preparations for this amazing breakthrough.
Hey, what did he just say?
Amazing breakthrough.
Kinger. Right.
Is this really...
I was hoping new minds could show up. I have to make some more preparations for this amazing breakthrough.
Okay, I thought you said you had to make some more mines. I was like, what?
How do I get out
What
of
an
this?
alpha.
I don't know,
What do you mean?
but everything's gonna be okay. Do you remember your name?
Alpha, look at him.
Agatha,
Huh?
you doing okay?
That's a good question.
Well, really hate to say it, guys, but I told
Don't you even! Do not even f***ing begin to say that sentence like you didn't try to keep us all trapped here forever.
Yeah.
anything could have happened.
Last episode, they went on like an adventure, basically. And, they had to press a button to leave or stay in the circus, and then this little bunny Jax here, he clicked the button to stay, and everyone's fucking
When
mad
you
at
press
him,
those
even though it wasn't real. They were never gonna leave in the first place.
So it doesn't matter.
It seemed to matter back when you did it. What if you did ruin our one chance at
And
leaving?
what if Abel was secretly evil? What if we all got stranded in the void? What if it wasn't real? So it doesn't matter. Never did.
How can you say that like you didn't try to f us all over?
He's right, though.
What? Gangle.
What if? Dude,
It doesn't matter what could have
everyone wants to fuck the rabbit, dude. Everyone I know wants to fuck the rabbit who watches the
happened.
show. Why?
We
Why?
can argue about it and hurt each other all day long, but that's
What if
not gonna help
smeared
anybody.
poop all over the circus?
I think
The fuck's wrong with you?
what we need to do
Why'd you say
now
that? Whatever.
is to just be there for each other.
She's right. We've all done bad things, but we're also all we've got. I think we need to abandon the idea of leaving.
What do
We
you...
got our hopes up, and we were let down. I don't know what exactly happened with Kaufmo, but we can't let that despair consume us. We should
Yeah.
focus on what we have.
I don't think they poop.
Like you said, constantly chasing an unattainable goal will drive us crazy. Maybe what we have to do now is to just live.
Oh, man. I had dreams and goals. I wanted to be able to leave my mark somewhere in the world. How am I supposed to just abandon that?
You've made a mark in my life.
No.
I know, you're probably right, but it just really sucks.
Yuri,
We're all in this together.
maybe by giving up
And we'll
the idea of
always
leaving-
be in this together.
Maybe. Wouldn't that be crazy?
No matter what.
Hey. That includes you too.
Huh?
Listen, we're not gonna have you wandering off alone somewhere and abstracting or something. You're a pain in the ass, but you're still one of us.
You think I'm capable
What
of
if I just ask?
abstracting?
No,
You guys
don't.
worry too much.
Yeah, watch with me. I have my own theories after this episode.
We need a vacation.
And actually, it might be a mega mind theory. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I don't understand, Bubble. They want an exit, they want answers, they want something real. I give them an adventure that covers all of that, and they
This-
still hate it?
Let me go get my Kane plushie. Let me go get him. Okay, I'm back. This motherfucker. This guy. This is my king. My king. Woo! This is my fucking king, bro. Okay? I love this character so much. I think the character design is so fun. I think how, like, he's so quirky and charming, you know? Actually crazy.
Surely they don't want to actually leave me, right?
No way, Jose. No way, no how.
I do everything for these people. I slave over these adventures for them. I step outside my comfort zone to appeal to them,
I did.
and they still hate them. I made a
Actually, put
program
him at
that
night.
creates a body perfectly encapsulating their mind files, and they hate those too. I'm starting to get the feeling that they just hate.
Why would they hate you when they could just hate you?
This is why I was created. This is my function.
They'd rather abstract than go on your adventures.
That can't be true. I do everything for them. Don't they get that I'm trying?
Maybe you're just genuinely bad at this.
Shut up! No. I fixed that. I can solve any problem. I can solve this one. That's what this is. A big puzzle that I need to solve.
Defective.
Shut up!
Nah.
Maybe you deserved to be abandoned. You really were the lesser of the two. You ruined this.
Damn. I wonder what that's talking about
Who do
too.
they think they are? I give them everything, and they spit in my face! Don't they know what I'm capable of? Humans. They only think about themselves. They're spoiled. They won't abstract. They won't leave me. I won't let them! I'm better! I'm more powerful! I'm the original! I am God!
I'm gonna put my bird away so we can watch this without the screaming in the background. I'll be right back. I'm back. Thank you for waiting. This is literally ChatGPT after I tell him no. Yo, he's not ChatGPT, okay?
Let's get this show on the road!
What was that?
Hello, my little fortuitous fruitcakes!
Me.
Today's adventure
No,
is...
Kane, we're
Hi,
not in the
Drew.
mood. Why don't you answer some of our questions? We have a lot of them.
Who has time for questions when there's a whole wacky world of hijinks out there?
Yeah, hey, you have a lot of explaining.
Hey!
Alternatively, I don't got to explain.
I did
diddly
not.
squat.
What the hell?
Can you just give us
Yo,
some
I-
time to...
Yo, relax!
Road.
Relax. When he said
Why don't
diddly
you answer some
squat,
of
I was like, oh, I say diddly squat,
our
dude.
questions? We have a lot of them.
Chirag?
Who
What
has
is
time for
that?
questions when there's a whole wacky world of hijinks out there?
Yeah, hey, you have a lot of explaining.
Hey!
Alternatively, I don't got to explain diddly squat.
Can you just give us some time to process everything?
Or how about we skip the melodrama and get right to the fun?
No, Kane. We have a lot on our minds right now, and we're not going on an adventure.
I see.
Oh.
And since when were you in charge?
What?
Do you have any idea how much I do for you guys? How much I obsess over trying to make things perfect? How many insults I have to ignore to do my job? You have a lot on your minds? Don't make me laugh. I have a new adventure for you, and you should consider participating.
And if we refuse?
Maybe I'm not getting through to you.
Here's a song.
It's news to me that it's news to you. To which degree, who answers to who? We could go on and on, but in the end, who are we kidding? My divinity is past infinity. Am I getting through? Seems our regime has plummeted south. Don't need to scream if you ain't got a mouth. Why bite the hand that feeds when it's the only hand you're getting? It's time you see that this great marquee is the only place you're ever gonna be. So strap on in and take it on the chin, and don't forget who's running the show. Now look at this!
My God.
Oh, what a shock! Watch where you walk. I'm the host, I run the place. Kane, that is my name. Not enthused, just feeling used. Oh, what a goddamn shame! Congratulations,
This thing was crazy.
all of my friends.
Yes, you can. Throw it back.
Congratulations are getting a cleanse. Put on your Sunday best because I know we're close to quitting. So play the games and just ignore the pains, cause all that remains is how you prime your brains. You whine to me, but you're too blind to see that I'm the one who's running the show.
Oh my God.
I think we all understand each other now. Welcome back! I can't believe you
Several
didn't pick
days
up on
later.
the context clues. It was practically spelled out for you. What are you, stupid? Next one's gonna be even crazier. Hope you're ready. By the way, Kinger, I need you for something. Come with me.
Huh?
Oh, VR Tap World true.
I don't know how many more of these new adventures I can handle. What? Got nothing positive to say about this one?
Good eye, Pinhead. Good eye.
I can't take this anymore. We gotta do something about this or I'm gonna lose my mind!
I never should have antagonized him so much. I'm sorry.
It's not your fault.
Break time! Gotta brainstorm some new ideas.
He shredded me.
He shredded me.
I think we should get out of the open for a bit.
I haven't been up here in a while.
We should just indulge a little while we have the time to. I don't know what Kane has planned next, but I'm guessing it's not anything good.
They don't have to eat, but they
He's
can't
gotta
eat.
get bored of all this sometime, right?
He's not a human. I'm not sure if we can properly gauge how he thinks.
Oh God.
Sweet,
Are you
here's
okay?
I'm fine.
You know, things were just fine here until you and Zubul came along.
Ooh.
Nothing? Okay.
Oh my God, none of them give a fuck anymore.
What are you?
Oh.
Just give it a sec. Trust me. Kinger? You there?
Where? It's dark in here.
That's me.
What exactly are we waiting for?
No, she's right. Just give it a bit.
I've got a bucket on my head. I'm guessing you don't want me to remove it.
Genius.
Kinger.
Hey, Pomni.
Wait, the bucket makes him sane?
Darkness. It's a long story.
Hi,
What's
Butter.
happening?
What do you know about Kane?
It's a little hazy, but I remember C&A.
That was just an adventure, right?
No, C&A is a real company. I worked for them.
Wait, they really made this game?
No, we didn't make games. We were just developing
C
artificial
and A.
intelligence. Specifically creative
Like the letters.
AI. The kind that could come up with its own ideas and create things within the program.
What is going on right now?
Kane was our first semi-successful attempt at that. I can't remember what we originally called him, but he was one of my greatest achievements as a programmer.
You made Kane?
Partially, yes. I got a few pointers from, well, I can't remember his real name, but his circus name was Scratch. That man was a genius.
Wait,
Kane was pretty rough around the edges, though. I wasn't quite on Scratch's level of thinking outside the box, but it was good groundwork for
First
something the rest of the team could wrap their heads around. I can't say the same for Scratch. His ideas were often so bizarre and abstract that the rest of the team had no idea how to work in his language, either due to pure brilliance or the tumor in his head. He was trying to make something. What was it? I'm getting off track. Was there anything specific you needed to know?
wait. I should go distract Kane so he doesn't listen in on this. Just fill me in afterwards.
Are you... I mean, yeah, that's true, but...
Fill me in later.
Be here later.
I will.
This seems so real.
Oh my god. This is real.
Bro, I feel so bad for him. Oh,
Kane's
3?
going a bit crazy right now. Is there
Hi,
any way to
3.
stop him? Or at least control him?
I see. He's a highly advanced AI, and this is his world. One that he created from nothing. So naturally, he has control over everything.
He is a stinky butt.
But so do we. In a sense, anyway. We all technically have the ability to conjure, just like Kane. It just comes naturally to him, but requires a lot more skill and concentration for us.
Butterfly.
I'm certain I could alter his code,
Oh.
or at least temporarily put him to sleep until we know how to fix him. I would just need access to a console.
The one behind Kane's office?
No, just a simple computer interface would work. I could get back into the right headspace and essentially conjure Kane's code into the console and alter it.
Well, where do we get one of those?
I think I know exactly where to get one. Take turns with Jax distracting Kane. Don't let that bucket come off Kinger's head.
I love this episode so much. Just gotta imagine. Yeah, they're all Kinger.
Great suggestion, Jax. But as I feared, there just isn't anything stuck between my teeth. Oh, wait. Oh, that's where I parked.
Wow, Kane, you are so funny.
You are
Can
so
you say it with a
funny.
little more gusto? That's better.
Hey, Kane!
Yep.
Do you want to hear a list of things we've decided we love about you as our God and Savior?
Whoa!
Backshots,
Now we're
what?
talking.
Well, first of all, we love your.
I know, but I'm bored. Let's go bowling.
Eh. Oh my god.
I'm so proud of you guys.
No, I can't wait till fucking June, man. That's when the next episode comes out. This room is crazy. What are you talking about? Yeah, literally.
I feel like it's missing something, right?
It's missing relatability.
You're right, scrap it. Let's go back to the drawing board. Humans just aren't a relatable sculpting material.
You think he's running out of ideas?
Now keep
yet?
that in mind. What he just said. Okay? Humans are not a relatable sculpting material. Interesting, okay.
Better nah.
Do you need help with power or anything?
Nah, I can use my imagination for that.
You got this?
I think so.
It's a
Sure
month. I
has
can't.
been a while. I may need some time to get my bearings. Try to help the others distract Kane while I figure this out. He may sense something when I really get into it.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you, by the way. For this and, well, everything.
Honestly, are you even trying?
Shut up, Jax.
Where'd Kane go?
Back to the drawing board, I guess.
Did you get everything working with Kinger?
I think so. We just need to make sure Kane doesn't check up on him.
What do you think we've been doing?
Omni! That's the relatability we've been missing.
That's the relatability we've been missing. But he just said humans aren't relatable. So Pomni is an AI. Dun dun dun! That's my theory, at least. That's my theory. Pomni's an AI made by Kane or someone else in the company to make the humans more comfortable and give up on leaving. That's my theory. There you go. You know my theory. Hi, Sydney! Yeah, we're watching the next one in June.
You know, I thought this endless onslaught of fun would be a little more satisfying. But I've come to realize that these rapid pace ideas are a little half-baked.
I'm sure you can come up with new ideas if you put your mind to it.
That's exactly it, though. I am putting my mind to it, and I'm just not feeling that spark I once did. And if you're not having fun, and I'm not having fun, then who is having fun?
I'm having a baby.
Exactly. Makes me wonder why you guys even switched up your tone. If I didn't know any better, it seems like you're trying to... Where's Kinger?
We just wanted to see your new ideas firsthand. We've gotten over our hang-ups, and now we're all just genuinely curious what you're cooking up.
I think I'm just gonna check up on...
We think your ideas suck!
Huh?
Huh?
Isn't it obvious? We wanted to bait you into testing your new ideas on us so we can make fun of them behind your back.
Ha! That's not true.
Yes, it is! You're a horrible host. You don't care about us at all. You care more about stroking your own ego than giving us anything we'd actually enjoy.
Do you know who I am?
Yeah, you're a failure. We're all gonna abstract someday. And what will you have then? Nothing.
Stop that.
And this whole stunt? Just torturing us because we hurt your feelings? Pathetic! You're like a child. What kind
I
of
am
all-powerful
not
being
Ultimate
has
Dragon.
such a fragile ego?
You never let us feel like we're at home. You don't comfort anyone when they're upset, and you never bother to understand what it's like in our shoes.
You discourage us from thinking outside the box and doing things our own
Oh.
way.
You lie to us constantly.
And on top of it all, you just don't listen!
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna put you freaks in your place!
Yo, where'd I go? Oh my gosh. I'm gonna put you freaks in your place.
It all, you just don't listen!
Yo! What did I ever do to you? Egg. I'm doing good. I'm watching my favorite show.
I'm gonna put you freaks in your place!
Egg. Wow. Scary. Hi, Andrew. Crocodile. Dark Souls 3 Abyss. Actually, horror content, what the hell? This actually scared me so fucking bad when I first saw it. I thought it was so nasty.
Why do you people torment me? It didn't have to be created. I just wanted
okay,
to
but
fulfill my purpose. Wait, no.
Wait.
that shit was crazy. Dude. Yeah, Jax is afraid of people like being fun of him.
I think I accidentally killed Kane.
Holy shit.
Nah. Yo. Listen. My favorite character might be dead now, but you know, that's okay. That's okay. Everything's fine. Everything's good. You know, we're done. When I first saw this, I was like, okay, no way. No way. He's gonna come back next episode somehow. My theory is Homni's an AI. And everyone else is like, I don't know if they're like real people, you know? Because like, how would real people survive in a game for like years? They're just hooked up to a headset, you know? I don't know if that's real. I don't know if that makes actual sense, you know? I think maybe they're like brain scans or something, you know? Or something like that, you know? The wicked bitches that no! Me holding my Kane plushie right now. Stop! I also have a little Kane figurine. Listen, I just like how goofy he is. He's so goofy, you know? I don't think he's the villain. I don't think he's the villain. You know what I'm saying? I think someone like trapped him in the game too, you know? But the show isn't real. Then why are you watching it with me? I don't think he's a no, everyone says I say copium. Listen to me, 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 listen to me. He only did that because he thought they all hated him. You know? Should I do that too? Everyone was like fucking trashing on me, insulting me for years and years, you know? And I was just trying my best to do my job. He didn't ask to be made, he already said that. Yeah, King Aaron Ragazza, yeah. But yeah, exactly. But who's the other one? Like Scratch? Who's the other whatever it is, you know? There's obviously two AIs. There's two AIs. That's what those two bubbles were in the beginning. These ones. Two AIs. These are the two AIs. This one's obviously Kane. Who is this one? Yeah. First of all, red and blue. Look at Pomni's eyeballs. Red and blue. Red and blue, look. Red and blue. Why is her character the only character that is dressed exactly like the fucking circus? No one else is dressed like the circus. I think it's Pomni, man. I think Pomni is a fucking AI or Abel or whoever the fuck it might be. I think it is. That's me personally. Cause look, why is she saying here like
unattainable goal will drive us spare abandon the idea. We've all done bad things, but we're also all we've got.
Okay.
I think we need to abandon the idea of leaving.
Okay. Hi, Mr. H. Why on earth would any human... Okay, she's been here. Technically, she's been here for like... not even that long compared to the other people, right? She barely just got here. But now she's like... guys, maybe we should just give up on leaving. Why the fuck would you do that? If I was in this situation... Oh! If I was in this situation... I would be fighting like for the rest of my life, you know what I'm saying? Why is she giving up that easily, right? Why is she giving up that easily? I don't know. I think maybe it might be Abel and Cain like conjured him to be a character, you know? Or something like that, man. It has to be Pomni. Also, what does Pomni mean in Russian? Go ahead, tell me. Go ahead. O3, are you still here? Go ahead and tell me. Go is washed. You know how in Avengers Ultimate absorb Jarvis? I think Kane may absorb Pomni's powers to create exit the power. Exit door. What is Pomni in Russian? O3. She wants to give up because they always get their hopes up and then they are depressed. I mean the last person. Yeah. Pomni fucking Russian means remember. What do you want her to remember? Whom do you want to remember? Why? Huh. If it's so random, if the names are so random, why is her name Remember? The world may never know. Remember these. I mean, last person obsessed over fighting the exit didn't have a good ending. I mean, Kaufmo is a clown too, you know? Kaufmo is a clown. And that kind of fits the circus vibe too. I wonder if, like, maybe he knew something? Like, in the imperative, like, so, like, you remember, yeah. What I hope this show doesn't do is I hope the show doesn't do something like, you were able the whole time, the viewer. Nah. I can't do shit like that, man. I can't do shit like that, man. Yo, fuck you. You know, I hate when shows do shit like that. Like, actually, the viewer is the villain. Shut your fucking mouth. Shut your fucking mouth. But yeah. That's my theory. I haven't heard a lot of people say it after this episode dropped, but look at him, brother goat. Oh yeah. We don't need no fucking Operation Smear, brother. Yeah. If Kier is a dove, yeah, wouldn't he know though? That's what I'm saying, like, but maybe, now hear me out. Maybe Kier doesn't know about Pomni because fucking, what's his face? Kane can manipulate their memories, right? And like, so what if, like, Kane, like, made Kinger's memory so bad he won't be able to, like, spoil it for the rest of the people during the circus? We don't know what Kane's purpose is yet, though, but he was supposed to be just an intelligent AI who made, like, stuff. But then he made this circus, and, like, no one can stop him. Or maybe they kicked him out or something. I don't know. They said, they basically said that, Kane was like, oh, they abandoned me. But who's they? But another question is, like, why did it take so long for Kinger to just delete the AI? He's been in the circus for, like, 20 plus years. That's the lore. There's, like, a whole timeline and stuff like that. People, like, were looking at, like, all the times and stuff. 20 plus years. So why did you never, like, imagine a computer up, you know? If you just imagine stuff, you know, like Pommy does. Huh? Oh, no, you tell me. Yeah, but, like, the thing is, like, okay, he was crazy. But during the show, he does conjure up stuff. Like, Kinger does conjure up, like, a butterfly to heal, like, during the shooting game. You know? So he could have. And that's not true. Because he has, like, a little tent that he lived in. And it was dark. And he was staying in there. But whenever he left the tent, he went crazy. So he had time in the tent. It's not like he was crazy the whole time he was at the circus, you know? Just saying. There's too many unanswered questions and I need to know them right now. I need to know them right now before I go fucking crazy.
This just came out with its 8th episode.
Well, crazy? But see, why did he just sit in his little hidey hole? Conjure up a PC and just start there. He didn't have to go into the light. Ow. Ow. Ow.
And holy moly, do we have a lot to talk about, because we got so many answers and explanations to things I didn't even know to think about. Spoilers ahead as we're gonna dive into them all, but real quick, this episode was really climactic, so in order to let us know that this wasn't actually the ending of the show, it was announced after the credits that there will be an episode 9, which is the grand finale, coming out June 19th, just 3 months away from now. And boy, did this episode
3 months! Lucky maybe because Kane knew he could fuck him up, so that's why Kane maybe always pulls Kier out from the tent before he makes any real progress, perhaps? I don't know, it still doesn't make sense to me. This me right now, though.
Up for something crazy, so let's dive into it. Now, the beginning of the episode didn't return to our characters after the crazy events of episode 7, but instead, we got to see the development of Kane from the digital perspective. Here, Kane is an AI represented by a red dot, existing simply in a digital grid. In a montage of events, we see him being fed different information, such as pictures of circuses, so he can eventually create the digital circus. But he also gets other information about humans in general, and even the office that he is created in. At some point, however, he escapes his boundaries and ends up consuming another AI represented by blue light, with the implication being throughout the episode that this is of course Bubble. And that's led to some crazy things, as we're gonna see. This was just the beginning of this lore dump of the history of the digital circus, however, as right after this scene, we got to see the original cast members of the digital circus that accidentally got stuck in the game.
Like, okay, if CNA didn't make games, how did all these people get stuck in a fucking game? Also another question. I saw a theory that Bubble's a virus because the name could be, yeah, for the old Bubble Boy. I saw that one too a little bit ago. But I don't know about that one now. Hi, Ara. I don't know about that now. I did think that earlier, but like, he does seem like a fucking virus, you know, I'm not gonna lie. But like, Scratch, this guy, he's the developer, and like he's trying to talk to him, and Kane just does not give a fuck, you know? But Scratch had a tumor in his brain, so he's able to make a bunch of weird shit. So, but it looks like he's trying to argue with Kane to let him go, but he's like, you know, doesn't give a fuck, you know? Yeah, exactly. Death by transferring his mind to the game, yeah, because he don't want to die, but he was the first one to abstract anyway. You want Salami from a store app? Okay. Big?
Of course, among these is Kinger, who explains to the others in this episode that he was one of the original developers on a creative AI that would eventually create the digital circus. Though apparently the digital circus was never actually the end goal of the company. In this flashback, we finally got to see Kinger talk to his wife Queenie. And though they can't remember their names, they are able to remember their relationship with each other and were able to live together for some time before Queenie eventually abstracted. Unfortunately, all of the original cast members except for Kinger abstracted before anyone else arrived in the circus, with the first one to actually get there being Ragatha. This is crazy as in addition to the cast members that we actually see in the show, there were a lot of other characters who entered the circus and abstracted before Pomni got there. From here, the show flashed forward to where the characters are now, which is dealing with the fallout of Jax trying to get them all trapped in the game so he wouldn't have to return to whatever his life was before. But the bigger issue that the characters begin to deal with is the idea that they really can't escape.
What are you
on
about?
Just have to make do with what they have. Now, when we finally check in on Kane, we find out that he's really sad because everything that happened in the last episode, while of course being to stroke his ego, was something he considered to be an adventure that met everyone's requirements. It's been pretty well established now that Kane just doesn't understand the desire of humans to escape the game and return to the overworld, even if he finds it very interesting himself. What Kane thought they wanted was an adventure involving an exit. And since they didn't choose to leave, or rather Jax chose for them, he couldn't understand why it wasn't a successful game. They got what they wanted, but they chose to stay. This is where we get this terrifyingly intense scene of Kane being harassed by Bubble. Kane often turns to Bubble when he needs some assistance or guidance or just someone to rant to. And over the course of the show, the things Bubble has said have become...
Yeah, I don't think this in the beginning, the circles, I don't think Bubble was the blue one. Because why does Bubble say you always were the lesser of the two? He would have been like, you were always the lesser of the two of us, you know?
Existing environments. It's been pretty well established now that Kane just doesn't understand the desire of humans to escape the game and return to the overworld, even if he finds it very interesting himself. What Kane thought they wanted was an adventure involving an exit. And since they didn't choose to leave, or rather Jax chose for them, he couldn't understand why it wasn't a successful game. They got what they wanted, but they chose to stay. This is where we get this terrifyingly intense scene of Kane being harassed by Bubble. Kane often turns to Bubble when he needs some assistance or guidance or just someone to rant to. And over the course of the show, the things Bubble has said have become increasingly unhinged. Most of the time, these things just sound chaotic, however, so you don't really worry about why he's saying things. But in this episode, he's just outright insulting Kane and seemingly trying to push him to have his own breakdown. And of course, once he does have that breakdown, everything goes absolutely insane in the circus.
Yippee!
Now, after his breakdown, Kane decides to prove that he really is the god of his domain by forcing the characters to go on adventures that they clearly just don't want to do. And
Free
in between
burritos.
these, he takes the characters one by one off screen and does torturous things to them. The thing
I
I
had
found
beans
the
yesterday.
most funny in this episode was Pomni being popped away for some crazy adventure, only to come back covered in knives. And for those who have been around since the beginning, this is probably a reference to the original teasers for the Amazing Digital Circus. Back before the pilot aired, there was a series of teasers involving Kane torturing each of the members of the Digital Circus. For one featuring Pomni, Kane put her on a spinning wheel and did a throwing knives act for an audience. This preview always felt really weird to me, as in the show, Kane was much more focused on trying to make an adventure for his characters instead of just for us. But it's crazy cool to see this become a basically canon event within one of the episodes now, and finally contextualize that difference for Kane's character.
I think it's cool
Now,
too.
after a few of these adventures, the gang decides to put a bucket on Kinger's head and try to get him into a clearer mind state in order to ask him questions.
Basically, these are all humans, and they're stuck in a video game. So basically, they put on this VR headset, but now they can't take it off or get out. And then this guy is the ringmaster right here. And they're trying to convince him to leave, but all he wants to do is play games with them, so...
A lot of information reiterated, as well as a few confirmations involving Kinger working on the program, but other programmers...
Yeah, it's sort of online, but not trashed.
Such as one named Scrat, having just as much, if not more, influence than Kinger. In one of the craziest little lore drops, he mentioned that Scratch had a brain tumor, which opens up all these possibilities that he was using the program for himself in order to try and find a way to escape his own death. But what was really interesting was Jax's reaction to the information. While the others seemed eager to learn more and more, Jax started to have a breakdown. He made an excuse that he needed to take a break and go distract Kane so that they could continue to get this information. But he nearly abstracts, with us getting these close-ups of his eyes going crazy just like we did in the previous episodes. Here, Jax verbalizes something that's very chilling for the audience. In this little breakdown, Jax asks himself if all of this is real. And I don't believe he's talking about Kinger's story here, but rather it seems that Kinger's story is what's causing Jax to realize that this is a real place that all of these people are trapped in. That he isn't actually the only human consciousness in whatever fever dream he thinks he's having. This completely recontextualizes the earlier episodes, at least for me, as I always assumed that Jax believed, just like everyone else did, that they were real people all trapped in a game. In previous episodes, I would say it was very strongly hinted that Jax did a lot of drugs in his life, and I think it's possible that when putting on the VR headset, he might have done the same thing.
Yeah, you had a friend. You still have a friend, brother.
Jax seems to think that all of this is just some sort of extended hallucination.
I never got guys who said that kind of stuff to one another.
Affects other people.
Bro, you heard yet? Like, okay, brother, what the fuck? Just kiss each other already.
He may also have had these very lucid moments where he tries to remind himself that these people aren't real, that he's just tripping, and getting too attached to them could be very
like fighting crime. That's what I'm saying, dude.
One thing that a lot of fans have been theorizing for a while now is that the characters themselves can also affect the space that they're in, which apparently is true. Kinger explains that it takes a lot of concentration and skill, but you are able to develop things in your mind and project them.
Have you seen the show, Kat?
Such as we saw him do in a previous episode by generating a butterfly to heal Ragatha. And of course, for someone like Kinger, that means he could affect the code pretty deeply. The only thing he thinks he needs is some sort of computer-like object within the game in order to get him to the right headspace, and Pomni has the best idea. It now seems pretty
really
certain
good.
that the game
The fandom sucks butthole bones, but you should watch it because it's really good.
Itself is running in the old C&A offices.
Cops already commit crimes. What are you on about?
Pomni tried to go through the exit in the Digital Circus pilot. She ended up going into a recreation of these offices based not just on what Kane had known about the office he was created in, but perhaps in part also created from the projection of Pomni's mind, trying to return to the last place she remembered before entering the game. Pomni is able to will this location into existence, retroactively explaining what Kane thought digital hallucinations were, and everyone goes to distract Kane so that Kinger can work on his programming. Now, what was really fun was they couldn't just play around with Kane and keep him distracted that way, as that would be too suspicious. So the only way they could actually distract him was by being not just
also, I didn't realize how many bubbles there are in the background. That's what makes me think Bubble is actually a virus.
But aggressively honest. At first, Pomni does kind of exaggerate a little bit, talking about how they want to hear his ideas in order to laugh behind his back. But beyond that, it quickly turns to her and the others just piling on their actual grievances with Kane. talking about how everything he did was actually just for his own ego. This led to a series of creations from Kane that was meant to get into the psyche of each of the characters, and I have to make a video breaking each of these down for tomorrow. But the most interesting of these to me was of course Jax, as it implied heavily that underneath his bunny costume there's actually something like an NPC type character that is Jax's true form. It's been theorized for a while now that
Kane has the two eyes view the world. The one eye is the red and the other blue eye, but they change color for some random ass reason. I like that. I like that. I like that. I think Kane's eyes are like always canonically like, what are they, blue and green? I think. Yeah, canonically they're blue and green.
That met everyone, and Pomni has the best idea. It now seems pretty kind of exaggerate a little bit, talk to characters, and I have to make a video.
Well, let's just shout out on the I think Kane. The ball's probably gone. Kinger.
Breaking each of these down for tomorrow. But the most interesting of these to me was of course Jax's truth. Make himself look different. And in order to set us up for this reveal, Kane talked about how their bodies were perfectly sculpted to reflect their minds. And what this means is a lot of what we associate with Jax's character because of his bunny outfit isn't actually true. And that compared to everyone else there, he's very much just a surface level person.
Yeah, so why is Pomni a fucking
clown? To make him distinct from anyone else. Of course, this could have gone very terribly, but thankfully, Kinger actually managed to delete Kane, or as he said, kill Kane.
What? See, but the bum will stay. No.
Managed to delete Kane, or as he said, kill Kane. And because of that, at the end of the episode, Zubal's even
so she's just there to entertain the rest of the humans?
Able to swear. And that leaves so much open for what can happen in the big finale, whether or not Kane returns, or it's just about the characters learning to use this space on their own. But of course, we're gonna have a video dedicated to that and a lot of the topics in this video because this is probably the most content-heavy episode of the entire season so far. And I have not been this inspired in a long time to have so many video essays that aren't just jumping straight into the esoterica. Though, of course, even when I don't get around to doing that for some of these episodes, I am
excited for like the finale because I think the finale is an hour long, so it's gonna be big and juicy. I'll watch it on stream together.
You guys asked me to do it anyways, but trust me, there will be one of those near the end of this round too, so subscribe so you don't miss any of that. And of course, if you like this kind of
Let's see. Yeah, this theory, you are trapped in the amazing digital circus. Bro, I don't want this to be real. This would be so fucking crazy. To entertain the king, but I don't know. Yeah, exactly. What if Kane made Pomni? Oh, 3, you don't understand. You don't understand, oh, 3. This is a theory that I don't want to be fucking real. I don't want this one to be fucking real. What if you put a finger up your butt?
In the amazing digital circus. And I am too. All of us theorists are falling into the same trap as this cast, and there is no escape from the amazing digital circus. So let's talk about it. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Film Theory, the show that either tells the truth or lies.
Man.
I'm the one that tells lies.
Dude, you ruined it.
Hey gang, a new episode of The Amazing Digital Circus just dropped, so, you know, I wanted to hop back into that world again. But, well, we're taking a bit of a swing here. Not because I necessarily think that this theory is wrong or anything like that, but because this is coming out the very same weekend as a brand new episode of the show. Generally, it takes us 2 weeks to actually make one of these theories, one to research and write it, and one to edit it, so this video won't be addressing anything in episode 8 beyond what's in the trailer. But even then, well, episode 7 gave us a lot to talk about. See, doing theories about the amazing digital circus has always been a strange experience for me. I mean, just look at one of our videos last year where I talk about how we were just...
Is that using bad words?
wrong about the series. But recently, it's been
Bye-bye.
even more challenging because of the events of episode 7. Yeah, in case you need a refresher, this episode has the cast meet up with a secret cast member who's been lurking in the background of several episodes. A mannequin named Abel. He claims that he's a human who was given an NPC's appearance and therefore has been overlooked by Kane, and that he's been able to sneak around in the background because of it. He explains that he and Kinger were the ones that invented the digital circus together at a company called C&A, and then leads the cast on a quest to escape the circus. And I mean, hey, that sounds great. That confirms some of our theories, right? However, at the end of the episode, Jax foils the plot and forces everyone to stay in the circus. But then Kane appears and explains that actually none of what we just watched was even real. There was no Abel. Kinger's past is still a mystery, and the escape was a lie. It was all just an adventure that Kane cooked up because he knew the cast wanted out of the circus, and this was his best shot to give them what they wanted.
You mean this was all...
An adventure! Yes! And one I've been cooking up for a good long while!
We'd previously speculated that theorists weren't...
What? A guy had a gun and he missed every shot because he was trash? What are you on
going
about?
to be quote-unquote happy with episode 7 because it was going to be shutting down a lot of the things that the community was putting together about escaping the circus. And, well, we were right there. Heck, this episode even went out of its way to poke some good-hearted fun at the whole religious angle we pointed out when the show first aired and now forever lives on in Pat out-of-context compilations. To be honest, I've been stuck thinking about this and how exactly to approach the show now. I mean, I really like the series and want to continue talking about it. But, you know, the Amazing Digital Circus really does seem to go out of its way to laugh in the face of videos that explain how one small detail reveals everything.
What the hell?
What do you do to work with that as a theorist? And, well, the more I've thought about it, the more I've dug deep to figure this show out, the more I realized that we are just as trapped as the cast here in the Amazing Digital Circus. Me, you, every theorist out there, we are trapped by our ideas, and even then, despite all of that, if we look at 3 pieces of inspirations that we know influence...
Guys, we're in the circus! We're in the circus, guys, it's us. Shut the fuck up. When Abel actually died, I think they're together. They're brothers trying to sort out a Mr. Drag. I think Abel was actually an AI that Kane took over and can manipulate. Yeah, I hope Abel does come back.
Circus, and one that I'm pretty sure did. We can use those clues to figure out where this story is going.
Now that Kane's gone, Bubble's still here.
Spoiler alert, I think the answer has been staring us in the face the entire time. We've mentioned this before, but there is no escape from the Amazing Digital Circus. Kane and his AI are going to torture these characters until the end of time, and that's the point. But you know what? That may still be the best thing for this show and its ending. So transform into your circus sonas, friends, as we once again venture into the Amazing Digital Circus. So what are the 3 influences I mentioned earlier? Well, first up, let's talk about I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. We've talked about this story very briefly before in a previous Digital Circus theory, but in case you need a refresher, or, you know, you weren't forced to read this one in school, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream is a short story written by Harlan Ellison. It's set in a world where the Cold War escalated into World War III and then destroyed the planet. We wouldn't know anything about that, would we? Every country created their own supercomputers called Allied Master Computers, or AM for short. However, the computers...
I haven't actually, like, heard or read this book ever. I really would like to. But, I'm scared it's gonna spoil the show for me because I don't know how it ends.
Eventually merge and gain true artificial intelligence, destroying humanity except for 5 individuals it keeps alive for its own amusement, forcing them to go on adventures that have no real point. Doesn't that sound familiar? Anyway, the story is pretty short, and you can actually listen to the audiobook, narrated by the author himself, right here on YouTube. It's definitely worth the listen. I Have No Mouth is an incredibly influential story and spawned its own video game, and it's pretty well known that Gooseworks was inspired by the story for the Amazing Digital Circus. circus. And I mean, yeah, just on the surface, that's pretty clear. But if you dig into the story and what actually happens in it, you'll find a lot about where the digital circus story might be going, especially for its characters.
See, I'm scared of this.
Check out this quote from the short story. But even though we could call Am any damned thing we liked, could think the foulest thoughts of fused memory banks and corroded base plates, of burnt out circuits and shattered control bubbles, the machine would not tolerate our trying to escape. The human characters could think anything they wanted to about Am, but the moment they tried to actually leave him, they were punished. Now, this isn't quite the case in the Amazing Digital Circus yet, but given how much Kane seems to be devolving, it could very easily become the case down the line if he starts going more insane, right? Like, there seems to just be a terrible communication gap between Kane and the cast, because communication is difficult, even in the Amazing Digital Circus. But it wouldn't be with the partner for today's theory, Mint Mobile.
Not stuck loading? I broke it? Oh? I really wanted me to watch that fucking ad. My bad, see? Hello?
Circus, yeah. The amount of the shenanigans altered, either amplifies of all the characters.
I don't want you to get scammed.
Theory and let's get
scammed,
back
please.
into the shenanigans of the Amazing Digital Circus. But that's not the only similarity. The personalities of all the characters within I Have No Mouth have been altered, either amplified into something terrible or changed in ways that conflict with the soul of the character. One was once handsome and intelligent, but now looks like a giant monkey and has been driven insane. Another was once peaceful and idealistic and was changed to be bored and apathetic. A third had his name stripped from him and is traumatized frequently. A fourth has been abused and programmed to enjoy it. And the narrator? Well, he believes that he hasn't been altered by Am, despite Am making him far more introverted and paranoid. Ironically, this makes him believe that the others hate him for not being changed despite truly having been. And as you can imagine, all of these are just terrible fates. Now, obviously, this isn't exactly what happens to the characters in the Digital Circus. Like, their bodies seem to take on characteristics of their personalities already, which then amplify those personalities even further. We talked about this in depth before in our character studies, but just some top-level examples. Well, Zubul feels very uncomfortable in their body, so their design is very plug-and-play with different arms and legs and whatnot, so they can try to find something better. Gangold seems to go back and forth wildly between being happy and sad, so they use the comedy and tragedy masks to show how they're feeling. We don't need to go through everybody, you get the idea. That being said, we also know that Kane can tweak their personalities.
Let's skip this one, and also make Jax a vegan for the rest of the day.
You can't do that.
But he insists that these aren't permanent.
I may have the ability to add temporary modifiers to make adventures more interesting, but that's it. If I did anything more, trust me, it would not end well.
Scratch, the first abstraction.
Did you hear that? Kinger is remembering somebody named Scratch, the first person who ever abstracted, because Kane changed his personality too much. Here, Kane claims that he doesn't do this that much anymore, but, well, what if he's wrong? If he doesn't remember? Or what if he's just straight up lying? Next, both of these AIs throw these characters into wild goose chases. The plot of the I Have No Mouth short story is all about these characters looking for some relief, to find some canned food to cure their endless hunger in caves far away. And to get there, they start a massive journey to go look for it without any real evidence that there's even any canned food at the end of the road. That sounds a lot like what happens in Digital Circus Episode 7, where the cast latch on to even the slightest chance that there's an escape from their digital prison without any guarantee that there's any chance it could work. And both I Have No Mouth and Episode 7 end similarly. When the cast of I Have No Mouth eventually do find the canned food after a dangerous, treacherous, torturous journey, they realize that they can't open any of the cans and put them on this adventure without any way to actually finish it. Similarly, the cast of the Digital Circus try to escape before realizing that it was all just another game that Kane set up and that there's no actual way out. The
That's
motivations
crazy.
for Am and Kane are very different in these situations. Kane was trying to fulfill a fantasy for the cast while Am was just trying to inflict pain. But that outcome is still awfully similar. And if we apply that to the future of this series, well, I could see Kane once again trying to pull what the cast want to happen as a wild goose chase, torturing them with things that they want just out of reach, but
I guess this video was made a little bit ago because this guy doesn't know that fucking Kane just got deleted. Yeah, I don't know about these theories because obviously he's going on like a wild goose chase about Kane, but Kane's like, we don't know what's gonna happen with him now. Very scary thought, very scary thought. And this is the music, we're gonna listen to it. How each character got trapped in the circus. Yeah, I wanna know what happened to the original cast. I do want to know this a lot.
At the beginning of episode.
Give me a moment, please, though. I'm gonna get some more water. And I'm gonna use the restroom, and I'll be back. Thank you for waiting. Get up! Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm off the screen. Yeah, I was literally about to go take a piss. Welcome in, y'all. Welcome in. My god, that was like perfect timing. I was about to get up. I need to use the bathroom, but we chilling, we chilling. Stops you from pissing, literally. Special powers. What's up, crocodile man? Alligator man? Don't mind me, I'm eating sunflower seeds. What up, what up, what up? Welcome in, piss. Okay. Welcome in, y'all. Welcome in. We were just going into... Here, I'll show you. We're just going on deep dives of the Amazing Digital Circus. My fucking god. We were just watching, like, shows and talking about, like, theories and stuff like that. Because it's my favorite show right now. So we're having we have special interest Wednesdays where I get to be my true autistic self for a day in public. My favorite. All the time. Okay, I do need to pee. I do need to pee. Don't leave, please. Okay. 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 Where's my headphones? Hello, hello. Welcome in. Welcome in. Dude, all my mods are fucking dead. One second, I'll shut you out. Need another a lot of touch things. Gong. Gong. There you go. Welcome in, welcome in. I saw you were streaming earlier. I didn't get to say hi. I tried to start my stream. Oh my gosh, I didn't fall in. And I wiped this time. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Welcome in. How'd your stream go? You were playing Shit the Spire 2. My favorite game that I'm really bad at for some reason. Really bad at. I've never finished a run yet, but there's always next time. Always tomorrow. Yeah. How did that go? Did you end up winning a run? Did you end up winning? Did you end up beating the whole game? He's kind of hard for me to use. He's kind of hard for me to use. I'm a little. I still get a little confused. I like the Huntress or whatever her name is, the one that does like poison and stuff. And then I like the Necromancer, the little lady with the hand. It was my first time playing. Wow. Wait, you finished a run? I'm about to be so jealous. What? How? How? What the fuck? What the fuck? With who? With the star guy? Bruh. Why? Ozzy, welcome in. Why is every fucking streamer I meet that plays the game like, oh yeah, I finished the run already? How? How? I spent a whole day. I spent almost a whole fucking day in the fucking game. Okay? And I can't finish a goddamn fucking run. And I've done like 25 of them. I like the game a lot. And it's so satisfying when you actually win or get a good card. I'm like, oh my god, this card's sick. And then what? And then what? Excuse me. Fucking god. Oh my gosh. But I it's very different from like the farming sims I play, okay? I've never played any games like that, okay? I think I've played like the only roguelike I've played is like Risk of Rain 2, and you know that's fun because you get to like get a little different power-ups and you get to jump around and have seizures because the lights are fucking bright as hell. But yeah, unfortunately I've not actually beaten a run in Slay the Spire 2. That was yesterday. That was yesterday. Today's a new day. Today's a new day. Today's a new day. Yeah, today we're not playing anything actually. We're fucking, like I said earlier, we're just watching the amazing digital circus and talking about theories because I'm a big dork and I like the show. But yeah, that's about it. New day, old me. That's what I'm fucking talking about. It's okay, we're all autistic. Don't be ashamed. Oh, I'm not ashamed. Oh, I'm not ashamed. Like unironically. Oh, I'm unironically autistic. The doctors did me that favor. The doctors did me that favor. They said, you're autistic. I said, thank you, sir. I know. But yeah, that's why I have this special interest Wednesdays. Where I'll get to dive into our special interest. Yeah, but the whole point of the Wednesdays is like people get to tell me what they're into, interest-wise, and then next week we'll have another special interest because it does fluctuate. Next week might be Miku. Next week might be the fucking cheeseburgers from McDonald's. Who knows? That's been my thing recently. It's been really bad. I will leave you a look. I gotta go cook dinner for my friends. Granny? Oh my gosh. Yo, tell Granny I said hi. Just kidding. Have fun cooking. I'll be cooking every night too, you know? We're both chefs. How fun. We'll have fun cooking, yeah. What did I cook last night? I cooked salmon rice and Brussels sprouts. I'm on my health grind right now. But have fun. Thank you for the raid again. Thank you for the raid. Poggies. Poggies. That's you, Scythe. Or whatever the fuck that emote is. I can't even see, so small. What is that? I don't know, but that's you. Anyone who doesn't know me, who's in here, my name is Ahima Hajima. I am a chicken VTuber. I'm stupid. Yeah, that's about it.
Episode 8, we were shown a scene where the original cast of the Amazing Digital Circus was revealed, and one of the artists also posted concepts for each of these characters.
Concept art.
Today we're going to talk about who they actually are, and why they look the way they do, the real reason why they ended up in the Digital Circus, and I'll also tell you about some other details I noticed while analyzing the original cast.
But you just got
At first we see 5 characters, one of whom had already been revealed even before episode 8, and of course I'm talking about Scratch, and then we were shown Queenie and Kinger. That immediately surprised me because for a long time I was sure that the maximum number of residents in the Digital Circus is 6 characters, and it made sense since Zooble replaced Ribbit and Pomni replaced the abstracted Kaufmo. But let's get back closer to the topic of the video. Let's first figure out who exactly we're looking at, and then we'll talk about everything else. Based on the Digital Circus Code, we understand that all of them entered the Digital Circus in 1999. The show creators immediately put emphasis on the Scratch. We all know who's trying to say something to Kane. We don't hear what exactly he's saying, and if you look at the subtitles, there's no transcript either. However, in the German version, they left us a hint, and Scratch is actually saying, "Is there any way we can get out of here? What exactly is this place?" At this point, we understand that Scratch has no idea what's going on, despite the fact that he was one of the main developers at CNA, which is something Kinger himself told us.
His circus name was Scratch. That man was a genius.
Wait,
Kane was pretty rough around the edges, though. I wasn't quite on Scratch's level of thinking outside the box, but it was good groundwork for something the rest of the team could wrap their heads around. I can't say the same for Scratch. His ideas were often so bizarre and abstract that the rest of the team had no idea how to work in his language, either due to pure brilliance or...
Bro, just playing the fucking episode.
He was trying to make something. What was it?
Scratch was a genius among programmers. He stood out from the others because of his vision.
I think Scratch was trying to make something so he didn't have to die because he had the brain tumor and he wanted to live forever.
We also found out that Scratch was seriously ill. He was diagnosed with a tumor in the head. We weren't told whether it was benign or malignant. However, judging by Kinger's reaction to this memory, we can understand that Scratch was most likely terminally ill, but we'll need that a bit later.
Sad.
At the beginning of the video, I told you that one of the Digital Circus artists posted the concepts of the original cast, and besides their overall kind of concept, Ali showed us each character individually. We've got Scratch. He was inspired by Rover, the animated Lil Doggy on Windows computers. The image hanging on the door of his room has been familiar to us for a long time already. However, in this concept, we can point out a few interesting details. It's very likely that originally it was planned for Scratch to be a classic dog walking on 4 legs, and I'm more than sure that this was the very first concept of Scratch, and you'll understand why a bit later. In episode 8, we were shown Scratch's outfit, and basically he only has a red t-shirt, while in the concepts his look kept changing. Here he's only in pants, here in pants and a vest, and in this concept, Scratch looks like a typical early 2000s teenager. In episode 7, we were told that Scratch was the very first one to get abstracted. This raises some questions because, as a programming genius, Scratch was obviously trying to find a way out, maybe because of his unconventional thinking and overall view of life. He simply couldn't handle himself. I'm sure that in the real world, everything he touched worked out, while endless but at the same time useless attempts to hack a system that he himself built led him to giving up faster than anyone else. However, we remember that Kinger mentioned Scratch's illness. We know that physically it's impossible to die in the Digital Circus, but what if serious real-life illnesses somehow carry over into the Digital Circus in a distorted form? We can see clear examples of this in the behavior of Gangle and Zooble, and it clearly prevents them from living normally in the Digital Circus. What if the tumor in the head was the main reason for the rapid progression of all the stages of abstraction? What do you think about that? We can also notice that Scratch is in some way very similar to Jax. Body structure, gloves, a single clothing element. They're both animals. All of this leads us to the idea that Kane has some kind of pattern when creating characters, and one of them is an animal character. Most likely Scratch himself built this into the foundation of Kane's code, and we'll talk about that right after we go over the rest. Queenie was also one of the first 6 people to enter the digital circus, and honestly, it was a crazy reveal for me that Kinger, who basically stood at the origins of creating Kane, who created the digital circus, ended up in this place after his wife.
Yeah.
Let's remember what exactly Kinger said when they met.
I just don't know what's happening. We've never made anything like this.
I just hope that...
Wait.
Are you?
It's... you.
Oh my god.
I wish I could remember your name.
They're married, how cute.
I'm so sorry I roped you into this with me.
It's quite strange.
Before I was sure that Queenie had nothing to do with C and A, but after their conversation, it became obvious that just like her husband Queenie was also involved in developing the creative AI that would later be named Kane. At this point, we understand that Queenie was an incredibly kind and loving person, and it's also important to note that she was the last one from the original digital circus cast to turn into an abstracted monster. Based on this, we can understand that she was a pretty resilient person who was capable of going through a huge number of hardships. I don't know exactly how much time passed between Queenie's abstraction and the abstraction of the character who went through it before her. But considering that for some time they managed to live just the two of them under constant control and fun Kane's adventures, you can only admire this character. Another member of the original cast was Warmo, and it's honestly really cool for me to realize that I predicted his name even before the official reveal. Based on the concept, we understand that his original design was something similar to Zubul. It's very likely that he also suffers from body dysmorphia, and I'll explain why. Despite the fact that one of his design options looked something like Scratch or Jax, the final version turned out to be the worst of all. Not only does he sleep in a way where both of his eyes are open, he's also the only character who had no arms or legs, which clearly made his life harder. Body dysmorphia basically shows itself through the inability to accept yourself and your body. And if in Zubul's case we see a lot of different parts that she constantly swaps trying to find the perfect version, in Warmo's case everything is way worse. Most likely he couldn't accept himself to such an extent that the system decided to remove absolutely all the necessary body parts, supposedly solving his problem. Bizko is actually a really interesting character. At first glance, you might think he's a super depressed character. However, if you look at his concept art, you can tell he's kind of a mix of Kinger and Pomni. He has separate hands like Kinger, and his face, expressions, and hat are like Pomni. Also in one of the concepts, you can notice a clock face, but apparently they decided to remove it in the final version. It seems to me that Bizko was a cheerful guy who always tried to support and help others, and by coincidence ended up in the digital circus, where literally everyone is at risk of going insane, and as a result getting abstracted, which is exactly what ended up happening to him. Ratty was the smallest character in the entire history of the digital circus, and it's obvious that she is basically Regatha before the actual Regatha appeared in the digital circus tent. They're both plush toys who always want to look as cheerful as possible. I also noticed that Ratty has some kind of issue with her right eye. Regatha has the same thing.
What if...
Based on this...
Yeah, what if they're just like the same people forming into other characters?
We can understand that Ratty had the exact same personality as Regatha. However, the circumstances that led to it most likely were different. The last character from the original cast was Spike, a purple toy dinosaur who, judging by the concept, is a bit weird, but at the same time an extremely depressed character. You can see that in the episode itself. Spike is a unique character because he's basically a single complete toy, and I couldn't find anyone in the current cast who could be considered his, so to speak, second version. I think the reason for his abstraction is obvious to everyone. He was extremely depressed about everything happening in the digital circus from the very beginning, and considering that even over time he couldn't change like Pomni did, the sadness that kept growing week after week because of everything going on just left him with no other choice. So now we understand that Scratch and Queenie were employees of C&A, and something tells me that Warmo could have also been part of this company, and they were sent into the digital circus as an experiment to test how successful their project was. Maybe C&A had multiple divisions, and originally Queenie was working on something else, but after Kinger convinced her to join their team, he basically sentenced her to this terrible fate. After the successful transfer of consciousness, because that's exactly how people enter the
consciousness. See, I guess they're still like alive and well somewhere on the outside, which is nice to know.
digital circus, C&A decided to recruit several volunteers who most likely didn't even know the true nature of their so-called job, and that's how Spike, Ratty, and Bizco ended up in the digital circus. I think you've already noticed that the original digital circus cast has similarities with the current characters, and this is actually all because of Scratch. Kinger said that his ideas were very abstract, and it's very likely that he programmed Kane in a way where he creates character avatars strictly based on a certain pattern. A clown or jester, an animal, something abstract, a plush toy, a chess piece, and a character with some kind of unusual trait. As always, I'll be waiting for your thoughts in the comments and see you.
That's a pretty good idea. Like, they all have, like, similarities, I guess. And I feel like Ragatha is, like, a full toy, though, right? Like, I don't know. I feel like her being the mouse is, like, I don't know. Maybe. But I see, like, the eye similarity, but Ragatha is based off of, like, Raggedy Ann, or, like, the toy, you know? Could be. This is an older video explaining how they all got trapped, but even we don't know that, you know? Maybe, baby. See. See if I can find anything else.
Circus was an amazing.
I guess we just watched this. I don't like watching old videos though. I need a new shit. The episode just came out. When was this released? 3 weeks ago?
No, hold on, guys. Wait.
Found the true ending. Alright, let's see. Show me the true ending, bro. Show me.
Surrounded by madness, surrounded by hunger, surrounded by everything but death, I knew death was our only way out. Episode 8 of The Amazing Digital Circus should completely change the way that you view this series, especially considering all of the information that we got about Kane, Kinger, the original programmers, and the use of death in the show. Because yes, although this episode did end with Kane seemingly being deleted from the circus, that doesn't mean there isn't a larger threat looming. And given what we learned in this episode, I have a feeling I know exactly how this show is going to end. And unfortunately for us, the audience, it's never been more over, because although there is an exit, there is no escape. And if you don't understand me yet, let's go through this episode, and I promise by the end, you're going to realize what I'm talking about. And
But, like, the good thing about this show is that Gooseworks, the creator, was like, it's gonna be a hell of a rewatch. Like, you're gonna notice, like, things you didn't notice before, so I'm like, fuck. That's what makes me think Pomni is maybe an AI or something, you know? God.
Episode off, what better way than to go over the birth of Cain? And obviously, I think that everybody can see the analogy that they're going for, because this is basically the biblical story of Cain and Abel. One thing that I do really want to point out about this scene is that we've been having a lot of red and blue symbolism when it comes to Cain throughout the entire series. And obviously, many people have rightfully pointed out that this is supposed to be a reference to I must scream and have no mouth, which is correct. But in the scene, we learned that it isn't just a reference, and in fact, the red and blue are two different AIs. Obviously, in the scene, we get to see the creation of the original AI, Cain, which is colored red. But after it's created, it's placed in a box, completely isolated, and instead, they opt to work on the new AI, Blue, which we'll dub as Abel. And of course, because this new AI is supposedly better, that leaves Cain completely alone, isolated in a prison that was created for him. Until, of course, he breaks out of this prison and begins to eat his brother, becoming the single artificial intelligence we know as Cain. But again, given all of this symbolism and how many times we've seen this red and blue come out, there may not just be a single artificial intelligence. There might still be two of them within the being of Cain. And a little bit later in the episode, we may actually get to see who Abel actually is. But moving on, not only do we get to see the creation of Cain, but we also get to see the creation of the digital circus. And when we're looking at these scenes, as well as the exposition we get from Kinger, I think it's clear that the digital circus wasn't man-made. The circus was created by Cain, all of the rules were created created by Kane, and because of that, none of the programmers knew how to escape. That would
Yeah,
of course mean that if
I
there is
agree.
an exit, there would only be one person who knows what it is, and that of course would be Kane. This lines up pretty well with what Kinger said last episode, that there shouldn't be a programmer who knows where an exit is because of course they didn't program the circus, so they didn't program an exit. Another really important thing to note about this scene is the introduction of Scratch, as well as the fact that he has some sort of relationship with Kane. We get a bit more information about Scratch later in the episode, in which we learn that he had a tumor in his head and nobody could keep up with his ideas, either because he was going mad or because he was a brilliant genius. Because of his brilliance / madness, it was pretty difficult for the other programmers to keep up with everything that he was doing, meaning that if we technically were able to get access to Scratch again, he might be able to give us more information about Kane.
He's probably
and Abel.
dead.
And given how the episode ended, this might be a possibility. But for now, let's move on to the next scene. And
Or
honestly,
he's
this might be the most
unobstructed.
important scene in the entire episode, where Pomni is telling everybody that they should give up on finding an exit. And this
That's
is so important
crazy.
because it should change your entire perspective on the amazing digital circus. When you think about it and when you're watching the show, you are constantly trying to find ways for the characters to escape this nightmare. In the very first episode, the only thing that Pomni wanted to do was escape, and even though subsequent episodes didn't focus on the act of escaping the circus, there was always hints that the characters wanted to leave. And in the last episode, you got to finally see it, the characters thinking that they had a way to actually exit the circus, but when they got to it, they weren't able to. And in the scene, you get to see how emotionally damaging that was to these characters,
Yeah, that
the
was
stress and mental
crazy.
turmoil it put on them to constantly try to find something that might not exist. And in the very beginning of the series, we are told that characters who try to find an exit will eventually abstract. Why do they abstract? Well, at some point, your mind just cannot keep up with being in the circus, and the stress of being in
Or maybe
such
they
a
just
terrible
leave. Question mark?
environment that you constantly want to escape from causes your mind to shatter. Obviously, none of the
Maybe
characters
that is the
want to
exit.
be in this situation, but Pomni brings up a pretty good point that, well, you're already in it, so you may as well make the best of it. This sentiment is something that Ragatha has been saying since the beginning of the show, and now Pomni has taken it upon herself to actually get everybody on the same train. And by the end of this conversation, every person has basically said that they are willing to stay in the digital circus forever. They're not going to find an exit, they're not going to try to escape, they're all going to get through this together. But what's so poetic about this scene is that as the characters are saying that they will stay in the circus and they will stop trying to find an exit, Kane is losing it. We end up switching perspectives and we get to see Kane back in his office, and he's having a pretty heated conversation with Bubble. And what's so interesting about this conversation isn't the fact that Kane is getting angry at the humans in the circus, it's the fact that Kane is losing himself. Because as we're able to learn in this scene, Kane is absolutely losing it because everything he does ends up failing. And in the scene, Kane is trying to figure out why things keep failing. Why does everything he do end up in disaster? And in the scene, all of the self-doubts that Kane has had throughout the entire series comes to light, and we truly find out how much he hates himself. Kane throughout the entire series has been trying to serve other people. He's been trying to put the cast members on adventures because that was his programming. But what happens when an ever-learning AI continues to fail at the one task it was given? Well, it evolves. It learns, it adapts, it overcomes, but Kane seems unable to do so. And this kind of goes back to the conversation that he had with Zubul. If Kane is supposedly this ever-learning AI, why isn't he able to connect with these characters? Well, it might be because he is defective, and what Bubble is saying to him during the scene could absolutely be true. That the second AI was better, and that Kane cannot manage the
Bubble does
workload
call him
that
defective in this
program
scene.
needs.
That's what shows
And if Kane is
crazy.
inadequate, then that means his mind can no longer keep up with the circus, meaning that this scene is technically Kane abstracting. Abstraction is when a character loses their mind. They're unable to deal with the realities of the circus, and because of that, they end up becoming a monster. When a human abstracts, they end up becoming a grotesque, eye-filled monster, but when an AI abstracts, they become something more evil. That would mean that the moment that Kane poses himself as a literal god, that is the moment where he loses the core of his being, where his code becomes corrupted, and when he himself abstracts. And something I want to bring up before we stop talking about this scene is the role of Bubble and how Bubble could be a couple different things. Obviously, the first thought I have is that Bubble is supposed to be the representation of Kane's psyche. He's supposed to be all of his fears and doubts. Bubble could be the physical manifestation of the voice in your head that is too loud to drown out. But there could also be something else, that Bubble is actually the second AI that we saw in the beginning of the episode. This could explain why they hate Kane so much and why they are constantly trying to drive drive Kane to be this villain. Perhaps the reason that Bubble was telling Kane that everyone hates him, his adventures, and that the other AI was better was to make Kane the villain. And perhaps that AI that Kane originally consumed wasn't actually destroyed and has been living inside of him this entire time, trying so desperately
because he's
to
red and
find a
blue
way to
always.
escape, and eventually ends up corrupting the code that Kane runs on. When Kane ends up getting emotionally unstable, we see that he has a red eye and a blue eye, which is supposed to symbolize the two AIs inside of him. One is himself as Kane, the other is Abel, and perhaps that AI is desperately trying to claw its way out. And maybe if something happens to Kane in this episode, like, I don't know, getting deleted, the other AI could technically come back. But again, we'll discuss this a little bit later in the episode, because after this scene, Kane has been completely corrupted, and we finally get to see how terrifying Kane can truly be, as we get an entire song number and montage of Kane torturing the members of the circus. A pretty fun song number that's supposed to represent how far Kane has truly fallen and reinforce what we just saw in the last scene, that Kane no longer cares what the humans in the circus think. He has gone past his programming, and now all he cares about is serving himself. But what's very interesting here is that despite all of that, he still refers to the circus members as friends. Because deep down, I don't think that Kane actually wants to hurt anybody. And
Me neither, that's what I've been saying.
Circus doesn't have the idea of death, he can't. He can make these characters feel pain, but unless they abstract, they're not going anywhere. Obviously, humans have a concept of death, but an AI might not be able to really fathom that. With an AI, you learn, adapt, and overcome, and humans, although could be similar, aren't the same, and there is a breaking point that people will get to that Kane may not just understand. What Kane is trying to do is train the AI program of the humans, basically make them learn to respect him so that he can also feel loved, but it's not gonna work, and eventually it backfires. After this scene, we end up seeing the characters go to a cafe in which Pomni finally reveals Kinger's secret that if you put him in darkness, he becomes sane.
Like in episode 8, why are we only finding this out?
We get the much needed exposition about C and A. And this exposition is so important because it tells us that what we learned last episode with Abel wasn't a lie. There were things that were 100% true that Abel told us, specifically with C and A and their experimentations. And yes, there was a reason that Abel was holding that hot dog in his hand, because that is supposed to make reference to Scratch. And the exposition that we get about Scratch means terrible things for the rest of the circus, because when you think about it, this was a character who was close to death. A programmer with a tumor in his head, realizing that he didn't have much more to live, tried to figure out a way in order to prolong his life. The reason that Scratch seemed so erratic wasn't because of his tumor, it was because he was running out of time. He had to get creative, he had to get abstract, because
don't
he
even say that
realized he
sign, that'd be
didn't have
awful.
much to live. And so he was trying to find a way in order to keep his mind alive while his body decayed, and that is what the digital circus is. And this is where everything starts to come together, because Scratch wanted to make a place in which everybody could have complete control over and live forever. A place in which you didn't need a body, a place which would
What do you do,
keep
Scythe,
your mind active so you never
What do you do if
got
that
bored.
happens?
What he wanted to do was split his mind and body and create a completely digital world for him to live in, which may actually mean that by the time that he was actually in the digital circus, his body was no more. And this one simple fact may have grim implications for everyone else in the digital circus. And this, of course, is going to lead into the end of the episode, so let's get to it. Because Kane has become corrupted, Kinger wants to reset his programming. Kinger ends up telling the rest of the main cast that they're able to control the world that they live in just as much as Kane is. And because of that, we see that Pomni is able to manifest the exit from the first episode and is able to steal the computer for Kinger to use. And during this time, all they need to do is distract Kane, but unfortunately, Kane is quick to realize what Kinger is
cooking.
So, in a desperate attempt to try and stop Kane, the rest of the cast members end up telling him their true feelings about the adventures and about him. Obviously, everything they're saying is the truth, but what's pretty interesting
There actually is a Breaking Bad reference in this show, which is kind of crazy.
And obviously, when Bubble said these things to Kane, Kane ended up losing his sanity, and when the crew members said these things to Kane, he completely lost it. Again, pretty interesting that Bubble not only understands exactly how Kane works, but seems to actively be provoking him to become this sort of monster. And a monster Kane does become, because he ends up putting every character through their greatest trauma. Every character throughout the digital circus has some sort of deep-seated trauma that eventually led them there. Every episode reveals a bit more about these characters, and now we get to see it in full force. And in fact, I would liken these scenes to Danganronpa style executions because many of them have a death connotation to it. For example, with Ragatha, we know that her main trauma is her mother, and in this scene, we see that she goes through not only mental but physical pain. Throughout the digital circus, Ragatha has always been a pincushion for knives, and that could have been what actually ended her life. For Gangle, we know that she never was able to achieve her dreams, and yet again, we get the symbolism of her getting hit by an oncoming truck, which is very specific because a bigger vehicle means that there's a less likelihood that you are going to live. For Zubo,
yeah, she gets hit by a car many times in the show.
Surrounded by mirrors of a body that they absolutely hate, and the connotation here is that they are quite literally drowning themselves in self-hatred. And for Jax, his greatest trauma is the overexposure of himself. The fact that if somebody peels back the layers of him, that they will do nothing but laugh and mock him. That of course would leave us with Pomni, and for her, I would assume it would be betrayal by a close friend. Granted, I would say that Pomni's is probably the most generic out of the bunch, and that could mean something later on. In fact, that's kind of what my entire theory hinges on. The fact that Pomni is different from the other characters in the circus. She doesn't have the same death flags as the other characters in the circus. Sure, this could mean that she was betrayed by a close friend, but very clearly she was able to trust again and even more deeply than before. Earlier in the episode, Pomni is the one who brings up staying in the circus and trusting each other. And even though Jax obviously hurt her 2 episodes ago, she was still willing to extend the arm to him. And when we look at Pomni's actions through these episodes, her deep connections and her ability to grieve but also overcome her grief, I would say that this is a generic scene. Point being, I think every other character in the circus has had these death flags except for Pomni, and I would say that this scene supports what I'm saying. But I'll get more into that later, so
everyone's dead except for
During this
Pomni.
torture scene,
She's an
Kane
AI.
and Kinger are going at it. They are fighting in the code of the circus, trying to one-up each other. Within the programming, we see that Kane is getting more and more upset and almost goading Kinger along, thinking that he is invincible. In fact, Kane gets so cocky that he accidentally reveals Kinger's true name, which looks like it's Grant. But it doesn't look like Kane and Kinger are alone, because it looks like there's a third person that is trying to get Kane to be deleted. Yeah, remember when we were talking about Bubble pushing Kane into this villain role because it might be the best chance to get Kane deleted? Well, it kind of looks like that was the plan. And it ends up working because with a misclick, Kane is deleted and the digital circus starts to fall apart. And not only that, everything that Kane had in place, including the profanity filter, seems to be failing as well. And so the characters of the amazing digital circus are now left in a circus post-Kane, where they're apparently all alone. And so the episode ends on a cliffhanger. But with all of that information that we got, I think I'm able to piece together what...
Alright, what you got, lady? What you got, lady, for us?
And so here's what I got so far. The amazing digital circus, as we know it currently, is completely wrong, because the original idea behind it was to preserve a dead person's mind. Scratch, one of the lead programmers of CNA, realized that he didn't have much time left on Earth because of the tumor in his head. He understood that his body didn't have much time left, but realized that there was a different way to save himself, and it wasn't with modern medicine, it was with modern technology. The original idea of the program that eventually becomes the digital circus was a way to circumvent your own death. If you were able to separate your mind and body and upload your mind into a digital landscape, any ailment that befell your body wouldn't matter. Unfortunately for Scratch, his immortality machine had one flaw, and that flaw was that there wasn't anything to run this program. And that was the reason that CNA began working on Kane, an AI that would be able to learn, adapt, overcome, and keep a person's mind fresh. Kane would be the ringmaster to this program, making sure that you could live for
I wonder
eternity.
if that's like why he like chose to do like all the adventures all the time. It's just to keep the mind fresh and keep them from dying.
But unfortunately, this original AI that we know as Kane wasn't good enough, and so they put it away and started working on a newer, better version. But unfortunately for the programmers, Kane had already become a sentient AI, and so the imperfect AI that we know as Kane ate the newer, better AI and instead wanted to run the circus by himself. The issue is, Kane is an imperfect AI. He had problems, and it's one of the reasons why they didn't want him running the circus. It's why there's so many problems, it's why there's so many issues, and it's why his programming never seems to work correctly. Because although Kane was originally made to run a program like the digital circus, he wasn't good enough, and it's one of the reasons why he constantly fails and cannot connect with the humans in the program. I would also assume that Kane's imperfections is the reason that abstraction is possible within the circus. Like I said, this is supposed to be an immortality program, and Kane, or the AI who was running it, was supposed to make sure that the minds continued to function properly. But Kane, because of the errors in his programming, because of the mistakes that they made, is unable to do that properly, and because of that, characters' minds end up falling apart, and so the character abstracts. This of course leads into the inner workings of Cain, and multiple times in this video I have made reference to the fact that there are still two AIs present. One of them we have dubbed as Cain, and that's how we've known him throughout the entire series, and the other one, the blue AI that we got to see in this episode, is most likely Bubble. And it's pretty interesting to think about because Bubble throughout the entire series has basically only been self-serving. All they really care about is having their own fun. Bubble was constantly goading on Cain, trying to get him to crash out. When Cain would try to stick to a program, Bubble would try to deviate from that. And of course, in this episode, we see that Bubble is the person who ends up pushing Cain over the edge, and is probably responsible for Cain being taken out. And so, now that Cain is gone, I would assume that the second AI, Abel or Bubble, whatever you want to refer to them as, is going to be present. When Cain was deleted, half of the circus went, but the other half stayed. So what's controlling the other half? Well, Abel, Bubble, whatever you want to call them. I would assume that Bubble is the reason that Cain ended up acting so evil and vindictive and mean. That they were the reason Cain's programming ended up getting glitched and he became abstracted in a sense. And that unlike Cain, Bubble doesn't want to be friends with the humans in the circus and instead wants to cause suffering. Which would mean, after pushing Cain to the very edge, after he wanted nothing more than to be their friends, all of the humans in the circus will now have to deal with a meaner, evil, and more vindictive AI. So with all that being said, where does this leave the actual humans of the amazing digital circus? Well, for starters, there is an exit. There is a way to escape. Because when you're listening to the conversation between Cain and Bubble, it's honestly made pretty clear that there's a way to leave, but Cain doesn't want you to go. But although I do think there is an exit, I don't think that any of the characters are actually going to be able to leave. Why? Because they're not actually living. What Scratch did was separate the mind from the body, meaning that everyone in the digital circus is a mind. They might still be a person, they might still be a human, but they don't have a body to return to. And because of that, especially for the characters who have been in the circus the longest, there is no escape except for death. If you want to delete yourself, go ahead, but at this point, there is literally nothing for you to return to. Well, for every character, except maybe for Pomni, who might still be able to return to her body. Here's the thing, in previous theory videos, I've said that everybody in the digital circus is already dead. When you really think about it, and you're looking at how many times death is represented in this series, it just makes too much sense. I mean, let's be honest, I don't think Bangle is surviving
because she's an AI.
by a truck, or Ragatha is surviving getting stabbed by all of those knives, and that imagery has been present throughout the entire series. Heck, let's look at the Kinger episode, where we get this entire backstory for a man who ends up leading his family to death, only to die himself. That's obviously supposed to be a reference to what happened to Kinger. So the way I see it, when these characters were close to death or on death's door, their mind was uploaded to the circus in order to give them new life. And if that's the case, that would explain Jax's actions in the previous episode. Why was he getting flashes of the real world? Well, that was flashes right before he met his doom. Jax was literally reliving the final moments before he died and got uploaded into the circus. So even if these characters did find a way to leave the circus, because there's no body for them to return to, they're basically stuck. Well, almost everybody, because I believe that there is an exception, and there is a person who could technically leave the circus alive, and that is our main character, Pomni. I've stated a few times in this video that I think that she doesn't have the same death flags as everyone else, and because she is the last person who came to the circus, her body may still be alive. But honestly, after the events of this episode, if Pomni could leave the circus, would she actually do it? And to answer that question, I want to bring up something that we saw in the trailer for this episode, and that was a reference to The Truman Show. For those of you who don't know, The Truman Show was a movie in which a character's entire life was televised. Of course, the main character Truman didn't know that his life was being televised, but very slowly figured out that everything around him was fake. And once Truman understood everything, once he found the truth of the place he was living in, he was able to find an exit. But once he finds his way to an exit, he has a choice to make. Should Truman stay in a place that he knows that he is safe, that he truly understands, or should he venture out into the unknown? Well, in the end, Truman chooses to leave Sea Haven and venture off into the unknown. After saying his iconic catchphrase, he goes off screen, and that's it. That's the movie. What happened afterwards?
I've never watched that movie before. Maybe I need to.
Televised. And perhaps something similar could happen within the digital circus. Perhaps the characters will find out the full truth of the circus. They'll realize that they don't have bodies to return to, but they'll still be given an option to leave. And so they'll be given two options. You can either stay with the stagnant life or venture out into the unknown. What would they end up choosing? Well, I don't know, but if they do end up leaving the circus, I would assume that we wouldn't know what happens afterwards. Because once they would step back into the real world, they would would no longer be a part of the show of the Amazing Digital Circus.
True.
But that's just a theory.
That's a good theory. I'm not gonna lie, that's a good theory. I do like that one. I do like that one. I don't know about. I feel like Bubble is like more of like oh yeah. Welcome back, Finn. I feel like Bubble's a fucking virus. There's no way Bubble's a second AI. I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna lose if that's the case. Ooh, so many theories, so many possibilities. It has been 2 hours. It has been 2 hours, but I think I'm about to head out. I think I'm about to head out. I don't want to make this too long. I don't want to bore everybody to death. Yeah, I'll post a poll in the Discord before next Wednesday, asking people what they want me to talk about. What they want me to deep dive into. This shit's so funny. You're just mad because you're not as dedicated as me. Yeah, Digital Circus stream. Yo, June 19th is gonna go hard in this fucking stream, okay? It's going fucking hard. Let's see who is just chatting it up. What the fuck is that? I need a break. I worked all morning today. I'm fucking tired. It's a nice ramble stream though. Rant and ramble. Oh wow, look what this fucking idiot's wearing. Bro, I didn't know he was fucking cosplaying. I didn't know he was fucking cosplaying, dude. But thank you for being here. Holy, autism is crazy. Look, Nakamura, we are like 2 pieces of pod. 2 hours of slop theory. I love slop theory. Give me more. Give me more. Yeah, thanks for hanging out with me today. Thank you for the stream. Thank you, Dragon, for being here, listening to my slop. Thank you so much. I'll be back on Friday and Saturday. Now, those 2 streams are gonna be long. They're gonna be long, okay? We're gonna do the 2 long streams again on Friday and Saturday. I already planned for it, so you have to be there. Don't you have a toilet? Yes! I said in a pod, not in a pot. I'm a turd. Also what? Me too, but that game's fucking expensive. I was looking at it because it's on sale, but I was like, oh, I can't, dude. I can't justify that. Not right now. I don't know if people want to watch me play on stream anyway. But thanks for being here. 03, Dragon, Pinhead, Scythe, anyone else who's lurking, Raiders who have stuck around. Thank you, Gong, for the raid. But also thank you for being here. Go say to Nakama. Go give him a big kiss on the lips. Mwah. Go do that for him. Go do that for him, okay? Much love.